Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on another video from Any News, covering some more stuff of the Danmachi series. We're going to get into how strong the Hestia Familia is. We got a fight coming up. We got to prepare. We got to know how strong they are going into it. Let's check it out.
With the Hestia and Freya Familia about to duke things out in a wargame for the ages, I figure you might want to know exactly what both sides are dealing with.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick.
There's Freya with her level 7 Otar,
Yo, he's a beast.
3 level 6s, 4 level 5s,
We got like her whole team's like, wow.
and countless level 4s, then Hestia with Belle, 4 level 2s, and possibly Ryu.
Oh god.
Obviously, the Freya Familia has the clear advantage, but the way the Hestia Familia will have to make up for it is what I think will make this fight so interesting. I mean, we've seen the Hestia Familia pull through when the odds were stacked against them before, but
Oh god, we have, yes. It's always so good to watch.
this is just a completely different level of unfair. It's a challenge that'll require pretty much everything the Hestia Familia has to offer. So, in order to make all that perfectly clear, here's an update to how strong every person
Yo, this is going to be so cool. I love all this. Yo. Sick.
in the Hestia Familia is. Belle I had covered last week, so
Yep.
if you missed that or the basic recap on how leveling works, feel free to go watch the first few minutes of that video.
They're really good videos.
If you're already familiar and know what these
Familiar.
numbers mean, then let's start things off with Lily, the primary supporter to Belle on his adventures and the lead strategist for the Hestia Familia during expeditions. Prior to this expedition, she was at low to mid stats for everything, but it was after that she had come back with stats looking like this. A 100-point increase across the board and a whole rank upgrade for strength and magic.
Damn.
This may seem marginal in comparison to Belle, but for anyone not in possession of Realis Freeze, to go up this much in a single adventure was actually pretty good.
Yo.
Now, the improvement that was the most important for her is that 1 point progression of her magic from the E rank to D rank. Since a condition for leveling is the possession of at least one D rank or above ability, Lily achieving it here meant she could finally go up to level 2 now.
Yay.
She had done quite enough already to overload her Falna with Excelia, so the only other requirement was that. This makes her stronger than most level 1 adventurers now, which for reference is more than half of all the adventurers in Arario.
Damn, that's one hell of a way of putting it in perspective. That's class.
It's a significant buff that lets her run faster, jump higher, and hit harder.
She's so cool.
In fact, with just a little bit of focus, Lily could now jump from the street straight to a second-story rooftop. It was the well-earned payoff of all the hardships she's been through. She had fought the Moss Huge and defeated the Amphispina, then
Mate, that was so epic. The dragon thing that you just said.
outwitted those in the wargame and helped the Xenos. Most importantly, she had escaped her torturous imprisonment with the Soma Familia. All this were extremely challenging feats capable of leveling her up on her own. One of the perks that came along with it was the choice of a brand new development ability. The options were abnormal resistance and compounding, both of which served as useful support tools in their own way. Since Lily wanted to support Belle the best way she could though, she figured resistance was the best option to do that. You see, by eliminating the effects of poisons and other negative status ailments, Lily was effectively reducing the risk of her being sidelined. All she wanted was to support Belle at every opportunity, and this was an ability that ensured she could stay by his side longer.
Man, season 1 and 2 was something else, weren't they? The whole show's been incredible, but yeah.
Now, we already know her magic Cinderella allows her to shapeshift, but to quickly recap what else it does too, it's limited to anything around the same size of herself and enables her to copy the physical abilities of those she's mimicking. This could be an enhanced sense of smell and hearing, or even additional limbs should whatever it is she's transforming into have them. Moving on to her skills, Artel Assist is the passive support skill allowing her to carry more weight, while Command Call is a brand new one gained from her level up. To put this new one as simply as possible, it's a powerful communication buff that enables her words to travel farther. So long as her voice is raised past a certain threshold, that voice could be heard by those in the most intense battlefields.
Yeah.
They're words which can only be received by those in the same familia, and the max distance it could travel was dependent on Lily's level. The fact it's limited to those wearing the same Falna as her, though, makes this almost similar to a form of telepathy.
Yeah, that's really freaking cool. Like, you're only communicating to the people that actually need to, like, be communicated to.
I imagine it'll be a very useful skill in the battle to come.
Hell yeah.
So, while I don't expect to see Lily anywhere near the front lines, Her impact as a strategist will most certainly come into play.
Definitely.
Especially with Command Call allowing her to convey orders from a safe distance away from the battlefield.
I believe in Lily.
This brings us now to Welf, who,
Yo, Ralph!
while already level 2 for quite a few months now, has further improved his usefulness with the invention of Welf magic swords. Yes, his stats did go up a total of 200 after the expedition, but those stats aren't necessarily what his party members rely on him for. No, Welf's true value comes from his creations. Before, he was only ever able to craft magic swords fated to crumble, but after his newest creation here in the dungeon, what Welf produced was a sword far greater than what any of his ancestors could create.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm trying to remember. That looks like a fork. Sorry. They're unbreakable? Is that what I'm remembering? Or they at least last longer than most blacksmiths have been able to make things last for?
It was a magic sword which drew power directly from its user, rather than draw from the finite source within itself.
Right, yeah.
So, not only did this prevent the sword from shattering over time, but it also made it so its strength would be directly proportional to the person using it.
Right, so I am kind of right.
Whenever the user grew stronger, so too would the power of the sword's magic. It's a unique characteristic that makes his magic swords fundamentally different from every other magic sword.
Like, this is the thing. Even though the Hestia Familia, they're not strong. They have such unique things going on. It's like, oh, you'd be so stupid to, like, get rid of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd at least utilize them in other forms. But I suppose people don't really... whatever.
Combine this
So
with
cool!
the fact his swords were already capable of exhibiting magic surpassing that of Eyes and Riveria's, and what you get are creations the goddess of the forge herself deemed as adequate. The peak he strived for was still incredibly distant, but for Hephaestus herself to call his creation adequate, well, that was an honor not just anyone received. It was as if he'd just been recognized as a true blacksmith for the first time ever. In any case, the individual power Welf provides may not be much, but the power he now brings from the forge is unfathomable. Reason being that if his new swords do truly scale with the user's magic, then I can only imagine how powerful one would be in the hands of Bel.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't Bel who's using it though, the mass production of these new unbreakable magic swords should even the playing field against the Freya Familia.
Oh, mate, yeah, it's going to be so interesting.
It doesn't tip the scales enough to guarantee them victory, but maybe just enough to give them a fighting chance. Now, as for Welf's other abilities, there's his anti-fire magic Will-O-Wisp, then the newly acquired skill Veritas Burn.
Veritas Burn.
For those who don't remember what Will-O-Wisp does, it essentially cancels out the casting of fire magic and can sometimes even cause it to self-destruct. So, not only does it negate magic, but it can also cause damage if the magic is correctly destabilized in the process. It's a very strong counter against mages. Veritas Burn is the skill
very
Welf
handy.
gained from forging in the dungeon, effectively increasing his proficiency with fire. You see, in addition to granting him resistance to flames, it also amplifies the power of his fire element attacks. This applies to the swords he creates too, so any sword Welf creates that deals with the element of fire would become far more potent with it than it was before. That's pretty much it for Welf, so next we have the Hestia Familia's martial artist Mikoto.
Yo, what a bitch. Let's go.
She's the only one who didn't
I mean, like, what a badass bitch. You know what I mean? Anyway.
gain anything new from the expedition, but she did however raise her stats by quite a lot. A massive 426 across all her attributes. Magic was the only one that saw very little growth, but all the others from endurance to agility jumped by close to 50 for each.
Damn.
It's the most significant improvement for any non-Bel member of the Hestia Familia ever. It did give birth to the option for a new skill, but apparently the skill was so ridiculously crazy that Hestia reasoned it far too dangerous for her. It was supposedly one of those self-destruct types. Normally, Hestia would always explore something unknown like that, but when it came to endangering the lives of her children, she would always put their safety above everything.
Yeah, she is nice. As much of a whiny little so-and-so she is, she cares.
So, while Makoto could have developed a powerful new skill, Hestia made the executive decision not to. This leaves her with the magic and skills we've already talked about before, but to quickly recap what each of them does, Futsu no Mitama is her iconic gravity magic, while
Yeah,
Yatano
so
Black and
sick.
White Crow serve as her radar. We already know her magic increases the strength of gravity within a certain area, but what you may not
That
remember
was
is that
boss
her
when she
radar
did that
skills
against the
detect
dragon.
both allies and enemies. The Black Crow version detects any monsters Mikoto has previously encountered, while the White Crow version does the same for allies. It is, however, limited to those in the same familia, but it's still very useful in surveying the area. So, regardless of whether her target is concealed or not, if they're in her range, then Mikoto can find them. Now, part of what makes Mikoto's magic so useful is the fact that she can cast it using concurrent chanting. By being able to do her chant while moving and sometimes even fighting, that makes its potential uses go up significantly.
Yeah, that's class, because you find most people need to be, like, stationary or, need to focus or things like that, and yeah, they'll be able to do that. So cool.
It's a high-level casting technique that makes her magic far more flexible.
Yeah, because you could be casting it whilst attacking at the same time and that, like, it's so boss.
We've yet to see it be used for anything other than stalling for time, but considering its effect against the Black Goliath and Amphispina, I would suspect it should be effective at least against the lower-level members of the Freya Familia.
Yeah, surely, if she's used it against bosses.
The part of her that I think would be the most effective, though, is her extensive training in martial arts and ninjutsu. Though not very useful against monsters, her mastery over various fighting styles should make her competent in the PvP side of things.
Not like
it's
this.
Not enough to make
That's not an example to be showing you.
up for a massive level gap, but that experience
Yeah.
could prove helpful in at least staying alive. So, though I don't foresee Mikoto being a prominent part in the upcoming wargame, I'm sure she'll serve a small part in handling the lesser members of the Freya Familia. Finally, we have Haruhime, who, with her one-of-a-kind ability to boost people an entire level, could very well be the most important piece to this upcoming wargame.
Of course. Like, come on. Yeah. Yes.
Before we talk
We've all seen how impressive everyone else's abilities are already. Like, boost them all one. Like, come on.
about why that is, though, these are the stats she came back with after her expedition. Another 200-point increase across the board, and
Again, like, the whole Hestia Familia have got such individual, like, techniques that are just... If they were level of the Freya Familia, my god.
improvement of magic from the E rank to the D rank.
I think the Hestia Familia is definitely, like, quantity over... No, sorry, opposite. Hestia Familia are definitely quality over quantity. You know what I mean? Like, if they have the potential to be, like, the best because of all the stuff that they can do and how they complement each other and what they can help each other out. And,
This makes her ready to level up, since with the expedition providing more than enough Excelia to overload her fauna, the only other requirement was that. It was a noteworthy accomplishment that spoke volumes to what she achieved down there. Since magic is much harder to improve than all the other attributes, the fact she was able to do so without concurrent chanting and with such long casting times, well, that just made it all the more impressive. It had led to the development of the brand new skill, Mikazume no Ho.
Mikazumi no
This
Ho.
is the ideal skill for pretty much every sorcerer, since not only does it increase the effectiveness of all her magic, it also improves the efficiency of the mana cost behind it. It made it so her mind could last longer when casting more. So, for a mage whose sole value lay in the number of spells that she could cast, anything allowing her to cast more would prove invaluable. Now, that's not to say the enhanced effectiveness isn't useful too, since where her Uchide no Kozuchi only lasted for 15 minutes before, this new skill now extended it to 20 minutes. Combine this with her more efficient mind usage, and the 10 minutes she would normally have to wait before casting Uchide no Kozuchi again is now likely shorter. It means Haruhime can keep 2 people constantly buffed instead of 1 now.
Yo.
This doesn't include her Kokonoe enchantment though, which, as we saw in Season 4, is an extended version of Uchide no Kozuchi, allowing her to buff multiple people simultaneously. The max she can do is 9, but given the extensive amount of mana required to make it happen, her personal limit at any given time is 4. Perhaps more now with the enhanced efficiency though. Either way, the key restraint limiting who she can buff and when she can buff them is primarily her and the amount of mana she has. Should she buff too many people at once, then Mind Down would be all but inevitable for her. It's why Haruhime has taken it upon herself to become more proficient in combat, but no matter how she practiced and what weapons she used, fighting just wasn't her forte. As much as she wanted to not be a hindrance in the mid to lower floors, the best thing she could do for everyone was just stick to sorcery. Leveling up would certainly make her capable of defending herself, but to do so now when she couldn't even handle her level 1 self, well, as Aisha described it, that would be like giving a cannon to a baby. The sudden increase in abilities would be way too much for her to handle. Thus the reason Hestia decided to hold off on leveling her up here. With the wargame coming and every ounce of strength needed though, it'd be no surprise if Hestia decided to do it anyway. I mean, with magic as essential as hers, anything which would allow her to cast it more would be helpful to say the least. Like, if we're realistically talking about Belle facing any of the first tier adventurers in the Freya Familia, Haruhime's magic is the only thing I see making that winnable.
Yeah.
A new level 5 Belle is already on par with low level 6s, so a buffed level 6 Belle should be enough to handle these high level 6s.
Be interesting to see.
I won't say it'll give him a fighting chance against Otar though, because as I'll talk about in another video soon, his stats look like this. Yeah, if there's ever a scenario where Belle's fighting him one-on-one, I don't foresee him beating Otar ever. I do think Haruhime will be playing an absolutely vital role though, so it's good to know exactly what it is she's capable of now. So as long as she manages her mana properly, she should be able to keep at least 2 to 3 people buffed at any given time.
Sick.
But yeah, that's every member of the Hestia Familia. Ryu is practically a member too, but if I was to talk about her, then that would be in a separate video.
Yeah, I was gonna say she got a lot going on, so yeah, it's all good.
Talked about now, there's clearly been some significant improvement from my last video on them. From level ups to brand new skills, every member has either improved on their specialties or made themselves more versatile. They might not be a top familia like Loki or Freya, but with 2 adventurers with the rarest skills in Arario, and a blacksmith capable of forging one-of-a-kind army-destroying weapons, the Hestia Familia certainly has the groundwork to become one. I think this is what makes the timing of the war game so great, since the Hestia Familia isn't at a point yet where they know for a fact that they can beat the Freya Familia. It's one of those seemingly insurmountable challenges where you're truly wondering, how are they gonna do this? That's why these next few episodes are gonna be so amazing, and I'll be making lots of videos to go along with them.
Sick.
So if you liked what you saw and want to see more, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Danmachi. Until next time though.
Ciao. Very, very cool. I am very intrigued to see how this goes down. But it's also very cool to know exactly how the team is before going in, because obviously the anime doesn't go so into depth and everything, blah, blah, blah. But that was boss. Love how he uses videos on those things, and yeah. Thanks for watching.
Click like and subscribe. Pixel Party Pals! Pixel Party Pals!